Happy New Year to everyone from the Horse Box. We do feel like we've had a bit of a break from podcasting, and we did have such a wonderful time over Christmas because we did pass all the tests and we managed to get to Kate's outdoor banqueting hall, which she manages to cleverly adapt to every occasion. So we had lots of festivities. So, Kate, do you think you feel rested up?
Not after you lot. Luckily, I escaped to see one of my children abroad, which was very exciting afterwards.
Well done.
And so, we're raring to go now, 2022.
Well done. So you were quite happy with me steering the horse box while you were away?
I knew it was in capable hands, Claire.
Well, we've got to change the analogy today to steering the ship.
Yes, we have a nautical theme, and we'll also be revealing our Christmas competition winner at the end of this show. Meanwhile, we're particularly excited by our latest guest, who can be found at dawn in many of our local villages, with his white van and an orderly queue of happy seafood lovers. We will hear about his life on the North Sea oil rigs and further afield, to Fleetwood Fish Market in Lancashire.
Yes, most lorry drivers know where they can park up for their well-earned brew and hearty full English. However, what about a few scallops and a bit of tasty sea bass?
Yes, welcome John Laird, who runs Ocean Wave with his brother-in-law Matt, delivering fresh food from Fleetwood to North Wales, Cheshire and Lancashire. The quality and choice comes highly recommended. John, what do you like to drink with your fish supper?
Well, probably I'd go for a nice Sauvignon Blanc, nice ice-cold glass of that, or maybe even a pot of tea. Yeah, most fish restaurants in Fleetwood, fish and chip places, or nice pot of tea with your fish and chips.
So you have to be quite adaptable because on the rigs, you're not allowed any alcohol, are you?
When I was on the rigs, no alcohol. So it was a dry 2 weeks or month or whatever schedule I was working.
And they're very strict because of the high health and safety rules.
Yeah, very strict. Obviously, it wouldn't be the first time I've been breathalyzed.
They breathalyse you? Oh.
Sometimes, yeah. If they think you've had a bit too many, they will breathalyse you in the morning before you get on a flight. And obviously, it could mean your job, so it's not worth it.
No, not at all. So does the sort of the way you're looked after compensate for that? Did they give you nice food and look after you?
Well, I spoke to my brother about this, who worked on the oil rigs before he worked on the ships, and he probably compared it to the same as me, probably like a bush trucker trial. It was a hit or a miss with the food, really. Some days it was good, some days it was bad. Some guys were good cooks, some guys were not. Obviously, some people really took care in what they did, but there were some people who just didn't, and they just put a menu out, and that's how it was.
Gosh, so no en-suites and room service then?
No, none of that, no.
Oh, no. Not even when you're on the ships abroad, not just the oil rigs?
No, it was all, everyone went to the galley and ate together, and that's the way it was. Yeah, everyone ate as a team, and we all did that.
I should think after a hard day's work, you'd want a decent meal.
Yeah. I used to look forward to steak night on a Saturday night, or curry night. That was the favourite time of the week. Or Sunday lunch, followed by a sticky toffee pudding. No matter where you go in the world, there's always a sticky toffee pudding available.
Well, cheers, John.
Yes, cheers.
The best ships are friendships.
Absolutely.
John, tell us how your seafaring connection began in your family.
Well, obviously, my family's a big seafaring family. It sort of started, obviously, my family legacy started probably with my nan's first husband. His name was Ernest John Parker, and he was awarded the DSM. And he won a medal in June 1940, and he was serving on the trawler HM Uberty, which was sent to Dunkirk. And he was manning the Oerlikon machine guns, and he won the DSM for shooting down enemy Stuckers. So after that, he went to sea on a trawler, the Goth. The last week in November 1948, he was married for 2 weeks to me nan, and after that, they sailed up to Iceland on the Goth, and the vessel went down in 90 mile an hour wind storms. All hands lost, 21 guys. So my nan was only married 2 weeks, and so after that they didn't find any wreckage. There was nothing. Only 50 years later, they trawled the funnel of the ship off the seabed, and that's when they found the wreckage of the Goth. But all hands lost, yeah. And then she met my granddad, John, and that's how the legacy started. Also, he was a big fisherman. My dad was a fisherman, and my middle brother, Stephen, he works on the wind farms in Taiwan and all over Asia, erecting wind farms. And my younger brother's in the Merchant Navy. He's a captain in the Merchant Navy on the ferries for Stena Line. Yeah. And
you said your father was a fisherman?
Yeah, my father was a deep-sea fisherman for many years. He was involved in the 2 Cod Wars. And he after the Cod Wars finished, the fishing industry just was big in decline. So he was made redundant, and then he started his career in the offshore oil and gas industry.
So did he initiate you into fishing? Did he first take you deep-sea fishing?
No, I went fishing when I was a young lad on a trawler with, it was my godfather, my dad's best friend, named Harry Buckley, and I went to sea for 2 weeks when I was about 10. It's a great experience. I was sick for 3 days of it.
But in the summer holidays or something?
Yeah, in the summer holidays, yeah. We were in me and his son, Paul Buckley. Yeah, we went in the summer holidays for 2 weeks. It's just
so how many were on the boat?
How many? Probably about eight people. Yeah. Eight or nine, yeah.
So this didn't put you off?
No, yeah, it sort of put me off. The 3 days of seasickness killed me. I thought I was going to die. But yeah, and then when I was working offshore, I went with my father-in-law, Phil. I sprained my ankle and I couldn't go back to work. I was fit, but I couldn't go back to work. So he said, why don't you come to sea with me for 5 days? So I went with him, and he actually worked, and it's tiring work. And I don't know how these guys did it 3 weeks at a time when they went up to Iceland, then come home for 2 days, land the fish, and then go back. That must have been a hard life.
Yeah, it certainly looks hard. So you took to the oil rigs, and that wasn't, well, piece of cake either.
No, yeah, I started in 2001. I started in shipyard on a rig called the JW McLean, and we spent I think it was 3 trips in shipyard, and they painted all this nice picture when I went in for my interview, and then I was lifted onto the oil rig, and it was like downtown Beirut, to be honest.
Oh my God!
There was things happening everywhere and welding sparks flying. I thought, what have I got myself into?
Didn't you say you were a firefighter on there?
Yeah, I was fire team leader. Later on, I was a fire team member, then I was a fire team leader, helicopter firefighting, just to do various courses throughout your offshore career, you know. And
what was the biggest thing you had to deal with?
Probably an emergency helicopter landing. Obviously, it was middle of the night. We was on night shift, and the radio room had an emergency call from a helicopter that was in the air, and he was having troubles, and he had a fire alarm come up on his dash. But obviously, these helicopters nowadays, they have onboard firefighting systems, which can maybe, alleviate the problem. But as a precaution, he wanted to land on our deck because he didn't know what was happening in his engines, to be honest. So, obviously, he called the radio room and said, look, we're going to have to make emergency landing here. We need all your crew ready. We need everybody ready on the heli deck. Firefighting equipment ready. So, obviously, anxiety's through the roof at that point. You think this is really happening.
The buzzers were going off, red buzzers. And
Yeah. Well, basically, basically over the PA system, everybody to the heli deck, all firefighting crew to the heli deck, because there's a helicopter coming in quick, and he's going to land. And we don't know what problems he's got. He said he's got a fire alarm, but obviously we had to have the equipment ready at the time, just in case anything happened. But that was a scary moment for us. We thought all this training that we've done might have to come into practice. Is the passengers on board? Everything what you'd learned we'd have to think about at the time. So that was a pretty scary moment for us.
But it worked out all right in the end.
Yeah, it worked out all right. He landed on deck. Obviously we was walking around the helicopter, checking for leaks and everything, and then he was happy that there was no fire, no smoke, so he sat on the deck for a while, and then after about 20 minutes he took off back to Aberdeen.
Mm-hmm. So 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Talk us through the sleeping arrangements.
Well, one person in a cabin at a time, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. In shipyard, if you was in shipyard and they needed all the personnel on board, you'd probably hotbed it and maybe 2 years in a cabin, which I didn't quite like. I've slept with some roughy-tufty oil men. Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest. It wasn't the cleanliest of people. Some of them, yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted, is it?
No, I walked into my cabin one night and I could smell something. I said to the guy who I was sleeping in the same cabin with, I said, "What's that smell?" And he went, "Oh, nothing." And I seen his locker was open and there was 12 plates stacked up in his locker, still bits of food on and tobacco all over his locker. And I thought, oh no, I can't sleep like this. I said, "You're going to have to clear them plates out, mate, because I can't handle this."
And presumably smoking isn't encouraged anyway.
Not in the cabins, no smoking in the cabins, but who knows where he was smoking. It could have been in the toilet or in the shower or anything like that. Designated smoking areas offshore.
So roughly how many people are on, I mean, obviously they vary, but...
on the smaller semi-submersibles, you're looking at about maximum POB, people on board. It's probably about 90 people. And obviously the big drill ships, you could have a maximum of up to 200 people on board.
I've watched some of the YouTube videos of what it's like on an oil rig, and it does give a sort of very James Bond feel to it. Going down those big concrete stanchions, you can get right down to the seabed. Yeah. And the pressure I was in awe of it, the pressure on those concrete.
Yeah.
Have you been down to the depths?
Well, these are platforms attached to the seabed. These actually produce the oil, which is then pumped to shore. They bring it up for the well. The rig that I was on was actually drilling for oil. Right. And it was a floater. So it floated on 2 pontoons. And
is that safer or less safe than a fixed?
Well, it moved about a lot in winter.
So you've got to cope with a moving platform and then a moving helicopter to make contact.
Obviously, working on the deck was pretty hard in winter, especially in rough weather. Obviously, moving loads when you're moving loads with the cranes. So obviously, it made for a tough day if the weather was bad, especially in the North Sea. Yeah, definitely.
And you made lifelong friendships.
Yeah.
Obviously working so hard.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, because you're in a small-knit community offshore, it's like your brothers. You're working day in, day out. So you create a good bond with people offshore, and you work together.
So one mistake by one of you,
it could have cost,
has a knock-on effect potentially.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did that ever happen?
Not as much as I know. I've seen a couple of incidents where people smashed their fingers in and stuff like that, but nothing too serious, thank God, yeah.
So, thank goodness for Wi-Fi, I imagine, in this day and age.
Absolutely, yeah. Televisions in rooms. Well, years ago, they didn't have televisions. You just had a big TV room where everybody congregated and smoked, and that was it. But TVs in rooms, it let you get away from all the, just a bit of you time as such, get away from it all, and then, you could relax and in your own cabin.
And what about the fitness side? Gyms? Saunas?
Gyms. There was a sauna on my first rig, that I was on. There was a sauna in there. But if it was cold at night, we used to take our boots off and go and sit in there when there was nothing going on. Yeah, it wasn't for recreational use, just to get warm. But yeah, gyms, there's gyms on board, So it was good to get in, release a bit of tension from the day on the running machines or whichever.
And the commuting by helicopter is as dangerous as the work when you're there, really?
Yeah, I didn't really like flying in helicopters. My wife said I always liked flying before I worked offshore, because I did. And then I started flying in helicopters, and some hairy moments in helicopters. So
that was the scariest time, really, the helicopter flight.
Yeah, I didn't really. You hear about these horror stories about helicopters ditching and stuff like that. I used to get a bit anxious before I ever got on one. And that's the way I always did. And I'm sure it leads to a lot of anxiety for me getting on a helicopter, because you just never know, especially rough weather.
So you're glad to get to the van and see happy people in the queue.
Absolutely, yeah. Doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah. I mean, the price of oil has a lot to play. I don't understand it, but the price of oil means, there are jobs or there aren't jobs, and that's sent you all around the world. Were there any special considerations when you you've worked in the Lebanon and Egypt, and did you come across any extra difficulties like language difficulties or?
Yeah, obviously language difficulties. I first went to work in Gabon when I first went abroad in 2014, and it was a different world for me. It felt like a bit of an adventure, going to a foreign country and working. I remember landing in Gabon, and as soon as they opened the door, the humidity hit you, and I thought, oh, I've got to work in this, And but working offshore, it was very hard communication with the locals. Obviously, they had an interpreter, but it was still doubly hard because you had to go over the plans twice, maybe 3 times with them, so they'd actually listen. It'd actually get through to them. Just that language difference made it hard.
So that was quite tough. You didn't have the waves, but you had other difficulties.
Yeah, other difficulties. Yeah, especially with the language barriers, and try to get them all motivated as well when you've got a crew of 8 people to look after.
You've shown us a lot of pictures of the catches on your deep sea trip with your godfather. Have you ever caught anything unusual in these nets?
Sharks.
Have you?
Sharks, yeah, which are put back. And
you obviously knew what they were.
Yeah, and obviously a bumper car from the fair. And how that got into the sea, I do not know. It weighed a ton, but a big bumper car. Maybe it fell off a ferry. I don't know. But yeah, a dodgem car was trolled off the seabed.
A sustainable catch.
Amazing, yes. So when you were on the oil rigs, it must have been very difficult leaving your wife Janine and your 2 daughters, Isabel and Matilda.
Yeah, it was hard, especially when they were younger. Obviously, my wife always said to me, she knew when I was going back 2 days before because my mood had changed rapidly. So it was hard when it was younger. We struggled with Isabel, our firstborn. We struggled with her, or Janine did. She wanted me to leave offshore, but, to seek a better life, I stayed. I'm glad I did. And then we had Matilda, and we sort of got into the routine, me working offshore, coming home, going back. And that's how it was for 20 years, yeah.
That must have been fairly common of your workmates having the same difficulties.
Yeah, same difficulties. You always talked about problems, and all this and that, divorces.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm leaving offshore, I can't be doing with it. Always this.
So it's a short-term thing.
Yeah, so, and then you got into your trip and you were sort of the first few days offshore is always hard. No matter if it's 2 weeks or it's a month or it's 7 weeks. And it was hard, and then you got into your routine of your shifts and then it sort of got easier, and then before you know it, helicopters on deck in 20 minutes, basically.
So it's feast and famine, really. The deprivation and then a long spell. Absolutely. With the family.
Yeah, Christmas was hard. Christmas was very hard.
Were they good on the emotional side, though? Obviously, if your wife was having a baby or something, could they rejig your shifts?
Yeah. Thankfully, I was home for both my daughters' births. I left the rigs a week early. So yeah, I was on for both their births, which I'm glad, which I was glad for. I know a lad who wasn't home for any of his 3 girls. One of my friends, he was away for 3 births.
In 2021, you joined your brother-in-law Matt and joined Ocean Wave. Your family must have been hugely relieved.
Yeah, they're huge relieved, apart from my wife says, she's not got the bed to herself anymore, so it's not between her and the dog.
Same problems as everybody else now.
Yeah, we're all fighting for the bed, yeah.
Which it does after 4 a.m. She can move over then.
She can spread out, and the dog can get on the bed then. But yeah, she said, but sometimes my daughters are like, are you not going back to sea yet? Or something like that, I do get on the nerves, but I'm just a proper dad,
So what time does your daily alarm go off nowadays?
3:45 in the morning. Tomorrow my alarm will be set for 3:45.
So that's easy for you now, isn't it? After what you've gone through.
It's sort of, yeah, but it is early. That's early. I never got up that early when I was offshore. Obviously, the hardest part is just getting up. And then once you're on the dock, I'm on the dock for 4 o'clock every morning. So, get up at 3:45. Dress straight away, straight onto the dock, no messing, and get loaded up.
Is it pre-ordered, your fish sort of thing?
Yeah, most of the fish is pre-ordered. Obviously, the fish is landed from various ports in the countries, which the main buyers on the dock, they obviously phone and tell them what they want because they roughly know what they'll need for the week. And then the fish will come in wagons. 90% of it will come in wagons. There is a smattering of day boats that come in and they will land a catch from out in the bay. But the majority of fish will come from overland. So we can put our order in because we know what's coming in because they've already told us we're getting so many amount of haddocks, cod or whatever we're getting. Then that'll be filleted for us. So it's there ready for us to go. But the boxes will be there. And if we need anything extra or we need anything that somebody might want, which we don't normally have on the van, we can always pick that out and say, right, we're going to need this. Or, if something looks good, we might say, I'm going to put some of that on the van today. Maybe a bit of Dover sole or anything like that.
Something that puzzles me is when you put those nets down and you're out at sea, how do you know what you're catching? How do you know it's going to be a nice big net of hake or cod?
Well, I've spoken to my father-in-law about this. You don't know what you're catching. He says there's an abundance of cod at the minute. They can't get away from it. They've put all the quotas up for the fish, for all the whitefish apart from cod, but you just can't get away from the cod at the minute. They're trolling it up all the time.
Don't know. We should be telling the world this, should we? We want to keep quiet.
Why is there so much cod at the moment? Then do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. No, it's just that they're catching it all the time.
One of nature's mysteries.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. One of nature's mysteries.
What's the ethos behind Ocean Wave? What do you aim to provide for your clients?
Yeah, just a good service, and bring the freshest fish we can bring to them all over the countryside where people can't get fish or they're nowhere near a market or anything like that.
Well, it's been a revelation to us in the villages.
Yeah.
Before lockdown, we had to go to a supermarket where it's nothing like what you're bringing around in your vans.
Yeah, I have been told, especially people in Overton, when I first came here, they love the salmon, the sea bass as well. They said it's nothing like we've had before. Obviously, we get the freshest we can get and we get it out to you guys.
Yeah, so it's a long day. So you trawl through the villages, and what time do you return home?
Well, you're looking at about maybe a 12 to 14 hour day, roughly. So depending on traffic, which is really bad at the minute, especially in summertime. The M6 it's mad, especially in summer with caravans and camper vans. So you could be looking and adding an extra hour on your day. So maybe, I think the longest I've did is about 15 hours by the time you get finished up. Cleaning, getting rid of the fish. About 15 hours sometimes. But on winter days, maybe about 12 hours, 12 and a half hours.
And you get a good reception in all the Welsh villages?
Absolutely, yeah. People love the fish. Especially in Overton, you get a good customer base in Overton, and all through the villages. Get me regular customers.
It is partly down to your chatter, though.
Yeah,
you do. When you first said to me about fighting fires on the oil rigs, I was straight on the phone to Kate. What about this? You have got the patter, and that helps to sell, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose you've got to have a good rapport with the customers.
You've got to be approachable.
That's it. Yeah.
Do you have a large thermos of tea in your van to keep you going?
Bottle of brandy.
All right.
No, I'm joking. No, I like to stop at services and get a nice Costa coffee or Starbucks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I can't carry on without the coffee. So at Fleetwood, do you find that there are characters there that have this personality that you enjoy dealing with? Is that Mr. Birdseye, with his beard or anything like that?
Yeah, you might get a couple of old sea dogs. Yeah, old sea dogs that, who are probably look that way about, But other times, it's 2 o'clock in the morning when them guys are starting. So by the time we get on the dock, they're all wide awake and we're all, heads down, get your ice, get your fish, load up,
Well, some of the younger ones might look upon you as an old sea dog. What about your clients? Do you notice the difference between Worthenbury and Wilmslow?
Yeah, definitely more posh. Definitely more posher in Wilmslow, I think.
I thought you were going to say Worthenbury.
Yeah, in Worthenbury and Overton.
So they get dressed up to do their shopping, do they?
Yeah, I tend to find round here it's all muddy boots and riding gear, dirty cars that have been through the mud.
Plenty of mud.
Yeah, plenty of mud.
And what about the age demographic of your...
Middle-aged upwards, definitely. You don't get as many younger people. I don't know, maybe it's the frightened of how do you cook fish and stuff, but it's probably using a piece of steak to cook. But yeah, probably middle-aged to older people for the fish, yeah.
And what happens to all the fish you don't sell?
That's sold to other merchants on the dock. Who'll buy the fish off us.
I really like the fact that every time you come with the van, it's the fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh, but stock. That's incredible.
Have you had any particularly unusual requests on? Because obviously people can order, especially through you.
Malpass fish heads for a school. That was on Monday. Yeah, can I have some fish heads? I was like, what are they for? Oh, for school, for science. So I pull out these 2 fish heads. Oh, yeah, okay, we'll have them.
Oh, that's very good in this day and age.
So what do you enjoy doing when you're not involved in fishing?
I like to go walking with the wife now and then when we get time. Cycling, swimming, triathlon.
So you're very sporty then?
Yeah, sporty, yeah. I'm trying to get back into it. Obviously, because of lockdown, I wasn't really doing much when I was offshore. And it sort of carried on, really, but I'm trying to get back into it now. So, try to get back into the triathlon. I've got an event booked in June, which I'm hoping to take part in.
So does fish constitute a big part of your diet to keep healthy?
I'm eating more fish now than I ever have.
What's your favourite to take home to the family?
We like salmon. My eldest daughter, Isabel, she'll draw the line at haddock or any whitefish. She won't have salmon. But me, my wife and my youngest daughter, Matilda, will eat the salmon. Yeah, but it's mostly salmon and probably haddock. Yeah.
Yeah, well, salmon's very popular, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a popular fish.
Shall we move on to the quick fire questions, Kate?
Yes, I'll
speciality.
With cruise or safari?
It's got to be a cruise.
Summer deliveries or winter?
I like summer, but I'm tending to swing more to winter now because just for the traffic.
Team sport or triathlon?
Triathlon.
Cocktail or beer?
Beer.
Best seafaring film?
Perfect Storm. Is it with George Clooney?
Yeah, brilliant.
Sushi or sausage?
I had an argument with this about my wife. I said sausage, but I like sushi. I like your sushi, me.
Both then.
Well, it's very popular at the moment, sushi.
Yeah, it is very popular, yeah.
Now,
healthy.
We're usually looking forward to this one. A joke or a motto?
Okay, yeah. What's the fastest fish in the sea?
I don't know. What's the fastest fish in the sea?
A motor pike.
Well done.
Very good, John. That was brilliant. Thank you so much. I think it's been absolutely fascinating hearing about.
Yeah, we've been very lucky to be able to get John to come all the way from Fleetwood to talk to us in our lorry. Thank you so much. Well, I will definitely be in the queue for some oysters on a Thursday morning. I've been learning how to shuck them. It's not difficult.
Yes, all this seafood chat has inspired me to have another go at growing samphire again this year. It wasn't a huge success last time, but I'm determined to crack it. I was also fascinated to hear that my co-host has been watching riggers on YouTube videos. Say no more, Mrs. R.
Well, I didn't spot John on there, but our grateful thanks to him for being so generous with his time to explain the background to Ocean Wave. We were so lucky to learn about a whole aspect of our food culture that we knew so little about, but it has a lot of parallels to farming which we can relate to. John's offshore work went on for 20 years, but he now has his feet firmly on the ground.
All Matt and John's deliveries can be found on their website, Ocean Wave of Cheshire, where you can find all contact details and delivery schedules. Finally, as promised, the winner of our Christmas competition, Sue Owen. G4S will be delivering shortly.
Oh, well done, Sue. And remember, you can always give us any feedback on our email address from thehorsebox@gmail.com. We look forward to our March episode when it could be you in the driving seat.